Welcome everyone to another episode of the Authentic Branding Podcast. I'm excited today to talk with Lizzy Cangro. Hi, Lizzy.
Hi.
Lizzy is an internationally acclaimed nutritionist and wellness coach with a passion for helping others finally feel good about themselves and love their body unconditionally. So this is a great topic, and the name of the episode today is Reclaim the Rebel. Lizzy, I am so excited to talk with you today because reclaiming the rebel when it comes to branding is so important. We kind of do that every day. So,
Right.
so for everyone who is here joining us today, Lizzy, can you introduce yourself and say a few words of what you do and who you work with?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me today. I really, really appreciate being on your podcast. I absolutely love what you do, and you gave me such a beautiful introduction. So thank you for that. I am Lizzy Cangro. I am a nutritionist and wellness coach. Originally from the UK, I now live in Los Angeles, and essentially my mission in life is to help as many people as possible unlock their personal power and skyrocket their confidence levels, make peace with the person looking back at them in the mirror. And I do this through a combination of nutrition, movement, and mindset. So I absolutely love what I do, and I do it in a very rebellious approach, which is what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm excited to kind of dig into that with you.
Absolutely. And that's what we will do today. Lizzy, you talked about being rebellious and you just will be releasing in a few weeks your book, and I can see it in the shelf in the back. It looks awesome. So let me ask you, did you always have this vision? Did you always know what you wanted to do, or was there something happening in the past where you said, okay, something isn't working the way I'm doing it? Or like, can you tell us a little bit about the story of the rebellious mind, the rebellious Lizzy?
Oh my goodness. So, how long have we got? That is a great question. So, I started off my journey to rebelling, rebelling. That's my rebellious act. I'm making up words now. But essentially, I began this journey when I was a teenager, and I actually developed an eating disorder as a 14-year-old. And that lasted probably about 10 years. And during that time, I had this realization, kind of on recovery, that I have a very specific purpose in life, and that's to help other women really nourish their bodies and ensure that they do not go through what I kind of went through as a teenager. However, I was doing all the things in terms of, fueling my body correctly for the first time in 10 years. I was working out in a very kind of sustainable and healthy way, again for the first time in a very long time. But what I didn't realize until kind of a few years later down the line was that I wasn't really nurturing my mind. And I was still under this illusion that so many of us are under, that I am not enough. And I was looking at myself as not good enough. Right. And I kind of had this aha moment, breaking point. You witnessed it firsthand on a program that we were both in. And I kind of had this, realization that my purpose was more than just helping women nurture their bodies in terms of physically. It was also emotionally and psychologically. So the tools that I discovered through the process of healing myself, I then decided that I wanted to pass them on to other women and really kind of encourage them to make this rebellious act of overcoming the illusion that we are not enough.
Yeah. So was there a specific moment, Lizzy, where you thought, oh my God, like, this is it. How could I not how didn't I see this? Like, was there like this moment where you thought like your world is breaking apart, or breaking open to say, like, so that you could finally see what you couldn't see before?
I think I kind of had, it was a series of moments. It was more like kind of a week of revelation. So it actually started when my partner and I, like, so he was my boyfriend at that time and now husband, but we enjoyed running, and we went on this run along the Strand near where we lived, and it was December and it was kind of cold, and it, because of COVID, we were all masked up, and I was wearing my glasses. And because I was breathing heavily, the hot air was kind of funneling up into my glasses and making them steam up. So I was like, oh, okay. And I tried to adjust the frames, and these frames just broke off in my hands.
Oh.
Now I had a oh my goodness moment, and that's not because I couldn't see anything. It was because I had been using my glasses to hide. They were my physical way of hiding, because I had this illusion that I wasn't pretty enough. So from the age of about, I think it was 11, when I got told that I needed to wear glasses, I had been using them to cover up my face. And I had created this whole identity around being kind of like the smart nerd girl that kind of was quiet and sat in the corner. And at that moment, when the glasses broke off into my hands, I had to confront this illusion of, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not good enough. And that's when I cried the whole way home, and I was distraught. That was when my kind of like, that was the earth-shattering moment. That was like glasses gate. So
Wow.
I had to actually physically take my glasses off and look at myself for the first time in years. I had to just, completely, strip away all of those illusions and realize some of the things that I had been kind of hiding from
Mhm.
for a while. And that's when, during that week, I kind of started to discover this purpose of reclaiming my rebel and helping other people reclaim theirs.
Wow, this is amazing.
So I go into a bit more detail about that and the rebellious act that I used during that week in my book. That's actually one of the chapters, because it was such a big moment for me. And
So,
yeah.
was there one rebellious act that you can share with us? What was the first one that you took after you realized that?
Right. So that rebellious act I call taking off your glasses. So the idea is the lens through which we see ourselves is so distorted that we need to actually learn how to look at ourselves properly. So the rebellious act that I took to start loving my reflection and actually seeing myself was something called the mirror exercise. Now, this was, I didn't create it. It was first introduced by Louisa Hay in her book. And essentially, the mirror exercise is super simple, but it's really, really uncomfortable if you're not used to doing this. And essentially, it involves you standing in front of the mirror and looking at your body, looking at your face, and looking at each area and telling it that I love you, and actually saying, I love you, and doing it for kind of an uncomfortable amount of time also, so like 3 to 5 minutes, and doing that on repeat. And what I found, and I think a lot of my clients have found, is that at first it's very challenging. 3 to 5 minutes doesn't sound like anything, but when you're not used to really, making peace with yourself in the reflection, and you're used to looking at all of your perceived flaws, it can actually feel very frustrating and very fake to tell yourself, I love you. But over time, that becomes easier, and you start to believe what you're actually saying.
Yes, and I love that, because when we build our brand and our business, so when you look around Instagram, Facebook, all the social media, you see people and they seem to have it all figured out. Suddenly, everyone is a 6-figure coach, a 7-figure coach. They have the right strategies. They have found all those things that will work for everyone, even if. And I came to the truth that this is just not true. It's just something that maybe they have hit the 6 figures at one point, or maybe they are a 7-figure coach, who knows? But what does it actually mean? And does it actually bring them what they want to have in life? So the true to discovering and also to putting yourself out there is to really be honest to yourself and authentic, because nobody wants this fake and perfect person and wants to work with you. And I don't know what you experienced after your breakthrough and after sharing all of this. I would love to know, what did change? Like, did people come up to you? Did they judge you? Or did they say, Lizzy, thank you so much for sharing this? Because this is, in the end, this is what it's all about. Like, when we are out there, we want to build connection, and the connection with people need to be true and honest. And if we are constantly, like, struggling to put up a face of success that maybe we don't believe is true ourselves, like, there is no energy behind it. And if the energy isn't there, and if we don't feel it, others don't feel it either.
Yeah.
So did you discover, like, what did change? Like, did people come up to you, or did they say, oh, Lizzy, what did you do? I would never want to have anything to do with you anymore? Or what happened after that?
I actually found that my biggest fear, that I was going to be judged and shamed for the way that I looked, that was completely unfounded. What I found actually was when I shared vulnerably, what I was going through and what my mission was, I had so much support and outpouring of love from the community that I shared it from. So my fear was that in kind of showing up imperfectly, I would be, outcast, and I would kind of I'd sink as opposed to swim. But actually, what I discovered, and what was a big aha moment for me, was that actually, one of my biggest values is authenticity. And for a long time, I was not honoring that. I was being held back by who I call my inner mean girl. I think everybody's got an inner mean girl. And she loves to shame us. She loves to judge us and whisper everything, to keep us in line, keep us looking squeaky clean and perfect, like this polished Instagram reel. But actually, we are perfectly imperfect humans who are, like, nobody expects us to be perfect. Perfect on an exam in school, for example, means that you're acing the class. Perfect in life means that you're a robot. So, what I found was actually, the key to building connection with people, as you say, is actually showing up and being authentic and having the courage to be authentic. Because when we do that, actually other people come out of the woodwork and go, I had such a similar experience to you, actually. And I really loved how you articulated that about the inner mean girl. Like, I have that too. What do you recommend I do? And that's really such an empowering place to work from. It might feel scary to be the first one to go and do it, but once you do, you build this sense of connection with people that you can't fake. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. It's so true. Like, as soon as we put ourselves out there as we are, like, people connect with us on a deeper level. And this goes also back to the hero's journey. And I think with all those Instagram posts, the perfectly posing pictures, there is no life in it. And I had a conversation, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, with a photographer who really captures the environment of where you live, rather than like posing for a pretty picture on Instagram. Because what this really is it shows you who you really are. And if you are in a messy or a clean kitchen, or if you have kids running around, it really is a part of your life.
Right.
and by showing that and allowing that, that brings us just closer. And coming back to the hero's journey, when we help our clients, then we are not the hero, the client is. So we are the guide on the way. So if we position ourselves as the hero, then they won't feel welcome. So we need to be the guide, and the guide is there and is sharing what the guide has already discovered and found out, all the ups and downs and everything, because there is no perfect.
Right, right. And, you know, going back to kind of like the being okay with being imperfect, like I love the photographer who kind of like shows up in people's houses and just, you know, shows it how it is. You know, you might have heard the cats
Yes.
fighting. So, and that's just how it is. Like I have two fur babies and sometimes they get on, sometimes they don't. But yeah, and I think just kind of you know, modeling that to clients is important, right? Because you know, that is, as you say, part of being that resource. You know, you are not, you know, on the high horse. You're not kind of, you know, being the expert. You're just being someone who's been there before, and you can
Mhm.
still model that to people in a way that is very authentic, and just be like, you know, hey, I spoke to a client a couple of weeks ago, and she was going through a really hard time, and I just said to her, you know, I still go through that sometimes, and it's just a matter of, you know, remembering the tools and working through it. You know, you don't have to have it all figured out. And I think maybe as people in the industry, um, there is still a lot of fear around showing up completely as who you are right now, because we all are growing. You know, even, you know, people who have you know, businesses built around well-being, about branding, about anything, like we're still learning and we're still growing.
Mhm.
And it's really our responsibility to say, you know, this is, we're still we're still evolving, but here are the things that we've learned so far. Here's how I can help you.
Yeah. So, Lizzy, do you feel like looking back a couple of weeks or a month, um, on your, when you look at your Instagram and the messages that you have put out, I feel, because I've been following you, and it has been so cool to see your brand come alive with all those things that you share. So did you feel that there is really a difference, like intentionally, of what you put out there? And is there a difference in messaging and the results that you get?
Yeah, absolutely. So over the last couple of months, I've actually kind of up leveled again. So, you know, it's almost this analogy. My coach, who I've been working with, she kind of like used the analogy of the flower pot. So you grow a little bit and you reach the edges of the flower pot, and then you have to repot, and then you grow a bit, and then you repot again. So I had kind of that repotting experience. over the
Tell us
last
about the reporting.
where I got some professional photographs done to kind of really capture the essence of what I wanted to convey about being like the fun involved in actually loving yourself and having confidence. And that to me was a big jump because of my history of not liking my appearance.
Mm.
So that was the first time I had professional photos taken in ever since, well, probably I think I was about 10 years old. So I used to model bridesmaids dresses than my mum. Again, that's another story that's in my book. But like that was the first time that I'd actually been in front of the camera and felt confident. And so I really wanted to celebrate that. And in doing so, I was able to share on my social media and on my website and things like that, just really what I was trying to convey, that like this is actually a really fun experience to step into loving our bodies and accepting our bodies how they are. And I think a lot of people have really connected with that just energy behind it. It's not something that I've necessarily scripted or rehearsed. It's just that kind of like vibe that I've tried to put out. And you know, it just feels good. And
Yeah.
I've kind of gone from being very like a rehearsed person when I first started off my business to just kind of going with the flow and just doing things that feel good. So I love
Yeah.
being
And
authentic.
I've seen the photos and I absolutely love them. They look not rehearsed or photo stock style edited. They look just really raw and fun and cool and like somebody who loves their body and is really enjoying life. So it's really cool. So I love what you have created.
Thank you so much. We had a lot of fun, and I had a really cool photographer as well. And she was awesome because she is also very passionate about, you know, body confidence and that side of things. So I really connected with her, and we had a lot of fun with the photos. It was good.
Awesome. I would love to connect with the bigger why and why this is important, because a lot of times we still think when we talk about branding that it is something that is either just your logo or your colors, or even a pretty website. Some people think it's a strategy of how you put all those things together. I really believe that it starts with your why. And most of us, I think, we start our business, start to market it, but we are not really taking the time to connect deep and find out, okay, what is it really that's driving me, and what is it that I want to accomplish, not just for me, but what is the ripple effect for the world. So did you, like, in your process, did you dig deep and discover like a deeper why and purpose for yourself?
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes back to what we were just talking about in terms of before I did have this kind of sense of there must be a reason why I went through. I had a 10-year eating disorder as a teenager. There must be a reason why I went through that, and I did have that strong sense of I am here to kind of give that message of you know, this is how to fuel your body and this is how to avoid some of the things that I've gone through. But only when I kind of really kind of connected to my emotions and let my emotions kind of in, did I really start listening to them and really connecting to that just sense, really strong sense of I've been put on this planet to do this. And if I can just help one person today with what I have to share in terms of physically looking after our health, but also mentally looking after our health, then I'm winning. And through that, I really kind of started to build this sense of strong purpose. And days when I really didn't want to go do the thing,
Mhm.
that strong sense of purpose was what got me through the thing. And it's not something that you can teach or you can kind of tell somebody to do. It's just a feeling that comes deep within you. And I think like connecting with, you know, your subconscious, your higher self, the universe, God, whoever you want to call that, kind of like that intuition, that kind of knowing, if you can kind of tap into that and go with it and trust it, then that you can't go wrong.
No, absolutely not. So, but you can't go wrong. But do you think, or maybe there was a time for you where you said, I feel something, but I'm not listening to it, I'm not doing it?
Right. Yes, for sure. Because for a very long time, I was terrified of being judged by other people. Um,
Mhm.
and this all came from when I was, I think it was 16 years old. And I was sat in class, and it had just been kind of released, I guess, told to everybody that I was suffering from anorexia nervosa. And the girl behind me said, out loud to the whole class. She announced it. She was like, that is just so disgusting. Like, I don't know how anybody could do that to themselves. And that really just like stabbed at me. Like, that felt painful. And that
Mhm.
kept me in shame for 16 years. The following 16, I didn't want to talk about what I'd been through, because I thought I generalized what she had said, and thought everybody would think that, I was disgusting, that I shouldn't be listened to because I had anorexia. Why am I a nutritionist now? And I started to go into this. I internalized her judgment and started judging myself, and that kept me quiet. That's like that inner mean girl that I was talking about, that really fed her stories and her beliefs, and I that kept me quiet, and that kind of blocked off that
Mhm.
knowing and that sense of purpose.
Yeah. So tell us about the mean girl. You have mentioned her a
Mm.
couple of times. Do we
Yeah,
all have a mean girl? Like, who is this? Who is this
yeah.
girl?
Yes. So she is essentially that voice in our heads who tells us negative stories or negative beliefs about who we are, what we look like, and just keeps us kind of feeling a bit shit. Excuse my French, but she's the one who, when we look in the mirror, she's the one who points out our flaws. She's the one who, when we type out an email and autocorrect changes the spelling of something, and then we later realize what's happened, she's the one who goes, oh my goodness, you're so stupid for doing that. She's the one who, your husband gets home from work and he says, what's the dinner? And you go, oh no, I am an idiot. I forgot to take something out of the freezer this morning. So she's the one who basically likes to beat us down.
Mhm.
And if you've seen the movie Mean Girls, you might kind of connect with some of the stuff that she she might be saying, and it's really this kind of like internal battle that I feel like a lot of us, not only women but men, face every single day.
Yeah.
And so she's basically that person that's kind of like keeping us in shame and judgment and preventing us from being vulnerable and showing up authentically. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, my book is really all about overcoming her, and kind of rebelling against her stories, because
So does does your inner mean girl have a name?
no, actually,
No.
that's a really great question. I've never been asked that before. That's really made me think. But no, like, I just refer to her as my inner mean girl. And I think I like it that way because it makes her not personal.
Hmm.
It kind of makes her something outside. It kind of helps me externalize her, because while she is all within us and we have the power to completely silence her, when she kind of speaks up and tries to speak up, I like the idea of feeling disconnected from her. Like, I don't know her name. She's just there, and she's sometimes
Yeah.
overlooked.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think calling it or her the inner mean girl is pretty cool. I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, I think all of us have imposter syndrome at one time or procrastination and all of this. And if we just personalize it a little bit and say, this is just my inner mean girl that is just trying to tell me that I'm not good enough or I can't do this, screw her.
Yeah.
It makes it so much easier to just push her away and say, you know what, you're bothering me right now because I'm on a mission.
Right, right. She can't sit with you at the table. You're
Yeah,
like,
you
"Go
are
to
not
the
invited today. Can you share, like, for our listeners today, and are there, like, I don't know, 3 steps on how you can get rid of your inner mean girl? Like, I know you have probably have um, many steps in your book, but are there 3 where you can say, so this is step 1, 2, 3. This is what you can do right away. You just said standing in front of the mirror and say, I love you. This is probably the first one. Are there like 2 other things that we can add to that?
Yeah, so my book covers 12 rebellious acts, but essentially, you know, the key, the overarching key is, first of all, awareness. And standing in front of the mirror is one of those ways of being aware, because when you're in front of the mirror, you have to confront yourself. You have to confront your inner mean girl, but also just being aware throughout your day, and catching yourself. Because I think a lot of the time, we don't really realize how these mean thoughts kind of enter our brains. So if you can start catching yourself when you say something judgmental about yourself, that can be really, really powerful, because once you have that awareness, then you can kind of do a pattern interrupt, what I call a pattern interrupt, and go, I'm not going to do this. You know, you acknowledge it. You go, okay, hi, inner mean girl. You know, she's like a toddler. She's like, hey, hi. And if you just ignore her, she's going to scream louder, right? If you kind of like aren't aware of those thoughts, she's just going to keep going. But once you have that awareness and go, okay, hi, I see you, but we're not going to do this today. Then step 3, you can start thinking about, well, what thoughts do I want to have? What do I want to say about myself when I look in the mirror? What do I want to say to myself when maybe, you know, work isn't going very well? What do I want to say if, you know, I'm having trouble with my relationships, or, you know, my kids are doing my head in, or something like that? You know, what do I want to put in my head? Because ultimately we can choose. Like, we can choose to let the inner mean girl keep going, or we can go, oh, hi, I'm not going to entertain this. I want to think this instead. And that's really the 3-step process that I recommend to start overcoming this inner mean girl.
Yeah, awesome.
She will crop up, right?
Yeah.
Like, even now, like, I'll still have days where she kind of like goes, hi. But now I'm practiced in it that I can be like, oh, I see you. No.
I know what you're up to, but I'm not in it. While you were talking, Lizzy, I was imagining driving, sitting in a car and driving to a specific spot, and my inner mean girl is sitting next to me, and she is reading the map. And I have my goal in mind. I know where I want to go. And then she tries to distract me and say, well, maybe we should stop here. Or I don't know if we can go there. I don't know if we have enough food, enough water to get to that spot where you want to go. And so every time like this girl speaks to me, you know, and we have in our business, we have a goal, like and when we feel in alignment with ourselves, then it feels light and in flow. The inner mean girl, I think, is the one that tries to push us out of this alignment. So have you felt, in terms of alignment, that the inner mean girl was trying to bring you off course after, even after, maybe when you were writing the book? Like, did she come up and say, you know what, Lizzy, you are not writing this book today?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great analogy, and I love that. And I think that's really where I have definitely had that in the process of writing the book and publishing it. Is she's come up, especially when I've been sharing the more kind of vulnerable stuff and stuff that I haven't even shared with my parents. That's when kind of the inner mean girl really is strong, because, as I mentioned earlier, I, through a very long time, didn't want to hurt my parents, because they'd gone through a lot when I was a kid. So I really didn't want to cause them any pain. And I think my inner mean girl really played on that. But at the end of the day, I then realized what was going on, because what the enemy, she's not our enemy. I think we've got to differentiate between the inner mean girl saying negative things and her being the enemy. She's not our enemy, because what she's trying to do is she's trying to keep us safe. She's just trying to keep life predictable. She's just trying to keep us in line. She's just trying to keep it, you know, just safe. And that's what she was trying to do with me. She was trying to keep me safe. She was trying to keep my parents safe, by keeping things the same. But we don't want the same. We're on a journey. We want to keep going. And she's just like, no, 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 we're going to park up. No, we got to keep going. And I think that's where just being really courageous and really brave is important. And also having self-compassion. Because sometimes, this is going to come up, and really, rather than kind of like getting frustrated with yourself and being like, oh, I'm my own worst enemy, my inner mean girl is screaming, why is this happening to me? You just go, okay, well, this is happening. What do I need to hear right now? What are the nice things that I can say to myself to reassure my inner mean girl and just me that everything's going to be fine? Like, it's okay to show up and be vulnerable and kind of share all of this stuff. So
yeah. And you know what, Lizzy, what I really love with you sharing your story is that it shows when we go out and we build our business and our brand, you can't just, create a strategy in your mind. Of course, you need like this overarching strategy, but it's not something that you build mechanically. And we talked a little bit earlier before we went live, and you said it wasn't really a strategy, it just felt right. So, and I think this is this inner wisdom that comes and speaks to us, and when we follow that, now this is really where true connection happens, where really authenticity comes in, and where we can really change the things and impact others' lives. So I think that is so beautiful how you are showing and living this.
thank you. I mean, I think that's just such a pertinent point that you just made, that it's not something that is mechanical. It's tapping into that feeling. And I think all of us really want a how-to guide. There are a lot of things, right? It's kind of like, this step, this step, this step. Whereas, it is important to have a plan, but there's also this element of feeling and feminine energy, as well as the masculine do, that we need to kind of balance out. And when we have that balance, everything just kind of, it is balanced. It's in balance. Everything kind of just works. And I really love how you just said, the key is not necessarily to try and force everything through planning. It's just, sometimes taking that journey, sitting in the car and just being like, all right, let's just see what happens today.
Exactly. And these are beautiful words, Lizzy, to end our podcast for today. And I would love everyone to check out Lizzy's book. So yes, exactly there. Can you share, Lizzy, when is this available, or can we pre-order it, or is it already there? How can we get the book, and how can our listeners work together with you? Are there any programs coming up? Please go ahead.
Thank you. So the book officially releases on December the 7th. However, it is now available to pre-order. So if you head to reclaimtherebel.com, or I think you've got Nutrition by Lizzy in the corner over there, you'll be able to pre-order your copy. And with every pre-order, I'm actually offering my habit reset program, just to help you build sustainable, healthier habits, so you feel empowered to make changes in your life really quickly. So when you pre-order, you'll also get that. And as a bonus for your listeners specifically, when you pre-order and send me that order confirmation, you will also be entered to win a free signed copy of my book. So just remember, when you send me that order confirmation, to put the code podcast. And
awesome.
Yeah, that's it.
So everyone who has listened and joined us today, check out Lizzy's book. I think it's amazing. I will pre-order it. I think it's very important also for our daughters who are just in the teenage age to really get on the right path and not be distracted by all those Instagramish photos that are out there, but really listening to your inner wisdom and push the mean girl away.
Push her out.
Push her out, exactly. Awesome. Thank you very much, Lizzy, for joining us today. We also have another branding program coming up soon. So if you are interested in getting your brand, your authentic brand built, then check out authentic.ca. Thank you very much, Lizzy.
Thank
I
you
say
so much.
goodbye, and I'm so happy you joined us today. I think there was so many gold nuggets for all of us in terms of personal growth, inner mean girl, and building your brand.
As I say, I really appreciate you. So thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thank you, Lizzy. Thanks again for tuning in, and we would love to connect with you. Let's get to know each other at Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. You can also email us at hello@authenticbranding.